It is good to be with you this morning, and it's good to be with our virtual friends. Hi, virtual friends. We're glad you're with us. So, since we talked about 1 Corinthians 12 last week, today we're going to think about a story from the book of Nehemiah, which is not a place we spend a lot of time. Last week's story and this week's story are on the same day in the lectionary, which means that these two stories might especially like to talk to each other. So let's see. I'm going to need a few extra volunteers, so Marcus, we may need you. Okay. Great. Keith, we're going to need you too. Okay. We've got plans, guys. A long time ago, long before Jesus was born, the people of God lived in the land that God had promised them. They built a city called Jerusalem. We're going to imagine that we are in Jerusalem right here, okay? But then the Babylonians came and they captured the city. Their king wanted the city for himself, so he wanted to destroy what was already there. So go ahead and fall over, because our city's being destroyed. Yeah, good job. Look how dramatically Marcus fell. Look at that. Some of the people of God were allowed to stay there in Jerusalem, but a lot of them were taken away into exile. They went to another place called Babylon, and they could not go home. So I want both of you to stand up. Marcus, can you take them to Babylon? It's way over there. Great. That's Babylon. Yeah, okay. A lot of time passed, and finally another group called the Persians defeated the Babylonians. So they had a new king, and that king started to let the people of God go home. Some of them went with somebody named Ezra. Hannah, will you come with Ezra? Yeah. All right. And you all came back, and you started rebuilding the temple. Can you guys get to work on that kind of about right here? Great. Others went with Nehemiah. Marcus, you could be Nehemiah now. And you guys are going to come help rebuild the city and the wall. So come on over here and get started on that. Oh, good. Apparently my feet are involved in this process. Great. So, some people also stayed behind over there in Babylon. They had made lives there, and they didn't want to go back to Jerusalem. And some people had never left Jerusalem at all, and they felt a little bit disconnected. They were all family, but all of the people of God in all these different places had had different experiences. They weren't the same anymore. But Ezra and Nehemiah, y'all stand up. They knew what to do.
Am I Ezra?
Yeah, you're Ezra. They gathered all the people in Jerusalem. So all of you all come gather in Jerusalem. I'm making you all work hard today. Gathered in Jerusalem. And then Ezra got out the scrolls and unrolled them. There you go. And he reminded the people of God of their shared story about how they had come from Egypt and wandered in the wilderness. He reminded them about how they'd received the 10 best ways and how God had given them manna and quail to eat and water from a rock to drink. He told them about how they'd come to live in the promised land and about how they'd built a temple for God there. They had been thinking about how they'd grown different, but he reminded them of what they had in common. After that, the people of God had a great party. Party, yay! Great. This is a good party. They had good food and good drinks, and they celebrated being together. You guys can sit down. These last few years have been hard for us as a church, haven't they? Some of us are here in person, and some of us are here online. Some of us got to be here for a while and then had to stop coming again. And we all have different stories about our experiences. It can be easy to think we're like Mr. Potato Head from last week, with our parts scattered out all over the place. But this week's story helps us remember that what's really important to us is that we are all a part of the same family of God.
Amen.
We have a shared story, just like the people of God did a long time ago. And we have shared work to do. And I hope that even if it's not everyone gathered here in the sanctuary or sharing a meal in the fellowship hall just yet, we can still celebrate the ways that we have found to be together during this time. Will you pray with me? God, thank you for our church family. Help us to remember that we have a shared story, and help us to celebrate our love for one another. Amen.